On Saturday, the 6th of May 2023, Charles III was crowned the King of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Really, he became king 8 months prior, at the moment his mother, Elizabeth II, died. There was no pause or moment of lapse. The coronation as a ceremony has two main practical purposes. For Parliament, at the coronation, they obtain the legal assurance that the monarch will accept their subservience to the laws of the land. For the Church of England, the coronation is where they confirm that the monarch is Protestant. The coronation of Britain's monarch is laden with symbolism on which people could and have written many books. It is unfathomably old. Comparable rituals only exist in the Vatican and Japan, and it's also brand new. It changes with the whims of the country at the point of a coronation. This video was written just before the coronation of Charles III, and will go over the British coronation ritual, the events which take place within the ceremony, and explain some of the historical backing and logic that the ceremony has. This won't be exhaustive. People have written tomes on this topic, but it will give you a lens through which to understand the coronation ritual and ritual more generally. The celebrations begin with a parade, as the monarch makes their way from Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey. This is the Abbey which has hosted every coronation since William the Conqueror in 1066. Inside the Abbey, there is a procession of people holding the crown jewels of the King and Queen. Charles's coronation is said to feature people chosen to recognise and represent the nation due to their service, including representatives from orders of chivalry, the military, and wider public life. With the delivery of these civic relics to Westminster Abbey, the coronation proper can begin. The coronation begins with the recognition. The monarch is presented unto the people in the four cardinal directions: east, south, west, then north. For each, the Archbishop of Canterbury says, "I here present unto you King Charles, your undoubted king." The official souvenir programme for the coronation of King Charles states that the recognition goes back to Anglo-Saxon times. I'm not sure what they mean by this, but it doesn't. It's common to claim that parts of the coronation stem back this far. The government's own report does it as well, but these claims are never substantiated. Frank Stenton, an Anglo-Saxon historian, has said it's difficult to find any unequivocal early reference to the coronation in any literal sense of the word. It's likely that the programme means the recognition counters a perpetual problem in Anglo-Saxon Britain, where several people had equally legitimate claims to the throne, because the claim to the throne was decided secondarily by inheritance, but primarily by bigger army diplomacy. If a person had enough people to say they were legitimate, then they were legitimate. With the recognition, the Archbishop of Canterbury, as a representative of the Church, stresses that the inheritance is undoubted. It dismisses all others as false claimants. As we'll see throughout the ceremony, the role of the Church in the coronation of a monarch is central. To not have the backing of the Church is to render someone illegitimate. The oath is the legally binding portion of the coronation. Barring an Act of Parliament and assent from other parliaments around the world, no part of it can be missed. Parts can still be added, though. To represent the particular flavour of his coronation, Charles III has added a statement that will allow the king to recognise his commitment to the multiple faiths of a diverse Britain. Again, there are attempts to link this back to the Anglo-Saxon period, but it's important to differentiate an oath from the oath of a coronation. The oath as we know it now dates back only to 1689 with the Coronation Oath Act, but the reasoning for it dates back to 1660. Parliament, at this point, became responsible for putting the monarch in their position. In 1688, the Glorious Revolution, Parliament had invited the Protestant William of Orange to invade England and supplant the Catholic James II. Ever since, all monarchs have ruled only with the approval of Parliament. The coronation oath legally limits the power of the monarch and binds their authority to Parliament and to the English state. It's symbolised with the handing over from the state to the monarch of 4 swords. The original wording of the oath taken in 1689 is largely similar to the oath taken in 2023, and makes this clear. Will you solemnly promise and swear to govern the people of this kingdom of England and the dominions thereto belonging according to the statutes in Parliament agreed on and the laws and customs of the same? With the response, I solemnly promise so to do. This is symbolised by the sword of state. Then, as the ultimate source of law and justice, the monarch will be asked, will you, to your power, cause law and justice in mercy to be executed in all your judgments? With the response, I will. This is symbolised by 3 swords, 2 swords of justice and the sword of mercy, which is blunt. The monarch is also asked explicitly to protect the Protestant Church. Will you, to the utmost of your power, maintain the laws of God, the true profession of the gospel, and the Protestant Reformed religion established by law? With the response, all this I promise to do. At which point, the monarch is made to kiss a copy of the Bible. This is the oath taken by William and Mary in 1689, but it's largely similar to the one that Charles took in 2023. The monarch legally has to be Protestant to take their oath. This means that Britain is still, legally, a Christian Protestant country. Though the monarch has already legally promised to defend the Protestant religion, they have not yet been consecrated as its head. This is why the anointing is performed, and it is the spiritual portion of this ritual. The anointing has never been filmed. It is performed under a canopy with only the monarch and the Archbishop of Canterbury present. For 2023, the Archbishop of Canterbury described it as a private moment between a new king and the King of Kings. Oil is consecrated in the ampulla by the Bishop of Gloucester. The oil is then poured onto the anointing spoon. This is the oldest piece of the crown jewels. This then anoints the monarch on the hands, breast and head, in a similar manner to churches and bishops. For this, we can arguably go back to Anglo-Saxon times. We're told that in the year 785, Edgefrith, the son of Offa, king of Wider Mercia, was consecrated as king. He was consecrated as king 11 years before Offa's death. Thereafter, while his father was still alive, he signed land grants as Rex Merciorum, the king of Mercia. This all but explicitly states that Edgefrith was anointed with oil. It shows a symbiotic relationship between the church and the king, where the church uses the king to justify their position of power, and in turn the king uses the church to legitimise theirs. Next, we see the investiture, when the crown jewels are presented to the monarch. This includes the spurs, the armels, the robe royal, the orb, the ring, the coronation glove, the sceptre with cross, and the sceptre with dove. Then we come to the part most associated with the coronation, the moment that the crown is placed on the monarch's head. Charles chose St. Edward's crown for his coronation. He is the 7th monarch to do so, and the 4th in a row. St. Edward's crown has been given pride of place on the coronation emblem, but for whatever reason, King Charles has chosen not to place the crown on his cipher, and he isn't depicted wearing the crown on coins or on stamps. On his cipher and his commemorative coin, he is instead wearing the Tudor crown, which was melted down in 1653 with the original St. Edward's crown. The use of a crown in general dates back, again, to Edgefrith, Offa's heir. We're told that in 796, following Offa's death, Edgefrith had received the diadem of the Kingdom of Mercia. Whether this refers to a literal crown, though, it's difficult to say. In 926, we hear of our first crown. Athelstan received a gift from the King of the Franks, which included a diadem precious from its quantity of gold. The crown is described with the language of a relic, establishing early on that crowns were seen as the centrepiece of royal power. Next, we have the enthronement. The monarch, prior to this point, has been sitting on the coronation chair, a chair built in 1296 by Edward I to contain the Stone of Scone. The chair and the stone have been used in every English and later British coronation since 1399. The coronation chair has only been removed from Westminster Abbey twice, during the Second World War to protect it from German bombs, and in 1653, it was removed and taken to Westminster Hall for the induction of Oliver Cromwell as Lord Protector. The Stone of Scone is an item of Scottish origin, with a variety of legends attached to it, connecting it to the deep past as far back as the 5th century. This makes it impossible to establish for how long the Stone of Scone was used. It was taken by Edward I to Westminster Abbey as he aimed to take the title Lord Paramount of Scotland, claiming the right to oversee the Scottish king. In 1950, the Stone of Scone was stolen by a group of 4 Scottish students who wished to repatriate the stone to Scotland. In transit, it was broken in 2, and then its location was unknown for 4 months. It was returned to Westminster Abbey in 1951. In 1996, it was repatriated to Scotland. In the enthronement, the monarch stands from the coronation chair and ascends the stairs to the throne, the Chair of Estate. Charles has made the decision to reuse the Chair of Estate which was made for Elizabeth II's coronation. This brings us to the final stage of the ceremony, the homage. The Archbishop of Canterbury, having crowned the monarch, now kneels before them and, together with the Prince of Wales, the monarch's heir apparent, swears fealty. In 1953, Prime Minister Clement Attlee proposed that the Speaker of the House of Commons should pledge fealty as a representative of the common man. The idea was rejected because it was too late to consult with members of the Commonwealth on this idea. In 2023, this idea was reborn. The Archbishop of Canterbury will ask all those watching to partake in an oath of fealty to King Charles III, speaking to crowds of drunk monarchists and sour-faced republicans. After the homage and the enthroning of the Queen Consort, the coronation is concluded with Holy Communion. The concept of monarchy is, to me, what makes British democracy so resilient. These institutions and rituals, which are believed to have immensely long roots stretching back centuries, give respect for the system as a whole. This is why countries seek similar pomp and circumstance, because these rituals establish respect for government and systems. To abolish or attempt to replace these rituals with something that doesn't have sufficient believed longevity is to strike at the heart of what makes government anywhere respected.